Here I am for the next retired NASCAR driver's career. This is number 11 for Dale Earnhardt Jr. So after today will be in the top 10. This season was good, besides for a little stretch that dropped him in points and never recovered. Here is number 11. 2002 is really good in terms of stats. 2 wins, 11 top 5s, 16 top 10s, 2 poles. He led over 1,000 laps, the second most laps he led in a season. The most was 2004 with 1,100. He ranked 11th in the points. He had an average start of 12.8, really good, but his average finish slipped to 17.1 because of so many bad races they had. As you can see right here, we're only going to look at these races right here in yellow. These are races I want you to remember. Fontana, Richmond, Charlotte, Dover, Pocono, Michigan, Sonoma, and Daytona, and then down here at the bottom, Kansas. So those are races that are going to be very important. We're going to go over the whole season, obviously, but those races are important. You can see after Talladega, I believe it is, he's 5th in points. That's the highest he ever was in that season. He dropped down. He actually finishes 11th as he gets up there at the end. So we start out with Daytona, and it starts out bad. 22 laps into the race, running second by his teammate Michael Waltrip, and he blows a tire, a right front tire going into the corner. You may wonder, like, how did he blow it? Was it maybe he ran over something? Did the tire just give out? You can see all the damage it actually causes to the car. It's like a whip going through as the hood starts getting damaged. The fender's all torn up. Maybe some internal damage as well. As you can see, the car is very low to the ground, so the suspension could possibly get dragged. And it's just not the Daytona 500 Dale Jr. wanted to start here. Only 20 laps into the race and already has an issue in 2002. They're obviously going to try and fix the car, get it back together, but that's going to be a very hard feat, everyone is thinking, as that car looks pretty well torn up, and it looks like it's not going to be able to compete to see how much damage there is to the right front fender of that car and the hood and everything else. So you can see on the replay, there's a little bit of dust right there. The 88, or the 8, sorry, I'm so used to saying 88. The 8 gets really loose. Dale Jr. somehow hangs onto it, keeps up the track, and somehow doesn't get into the wall and doesn't cause a crash, as that car was very sideways, jumped sideways. See right here from another replay, another angle, the little dust right there, the 8 getting sideways. Harvick takes the base, it actually gets low, and Jr. gets up high and keeps the car out of the wall, keeps the car out of anyone else. So great job there by Jr. keeping the car under control, not wrecking it, as that could have definitely ended his day right there. You can see from Michael Waltrip's on board, you're going to see some debris come out from underneath the back right there. The dust, the debris is going to get right into the tire, and look at that. As it gets loose, and he somehow hangs onto the car. As that debris, I don't know if it came from the track, if it was there, if it came from Michael's car. You can see right there all the damage. Look at the tire as well, the right front tire. Once it comes off, look at how just shredded that tire is. The official has to catch it there, throwing sheet metal up over the car, and it just looks like his day is going to be done. He might be riding around the back, but he's not going to be a factor. As you can see right there, the shredded tire, and they put a new tire rack on it. They're going to get him out there, not trying to lose any laps here. He gets back out. As you can see, they're going to have to come in and tape that off, obviously, if he wants to be competitive. But then later in the race, this is after the pit stop, he worked his way from the back of the field. They taped the right front fender up all the way up to 11th. As he passed Robbie Gordon, he's in the top 10. That car looks pretty fast, even with the damage he has. So even with that damage, up inside the top 10 and 10th, you think maybe he still has a shot. Maybe if some weird thing happens, he could possibly get up there and win the Daytona 500 with a torn up right front car. Obviously, that damage though is going to slow him once he gets out front, and the tape might not stay on there. So when the next caution comes out, they pit under that caution to put sheet metal on the car instead of tape. They get sheet metal put on the car, but it kind of relegates them back to the back of the field where they're running in the 30s again, and they'll have to go back up to the front. That's obviously on the next caution under the next pit stop. That actually ends up costing him, as he's at the back of the pack, and he blows another tire, if you can believe it. He blows another tire. He flies through the grass, keeps the car under control, does not wreck the car again. A great job driving, and gets on the apron. The caution will come out for debris from his car. As my oh my, somehow he's able to hang on to the car. Another tire goes flat, this time in the right rear. So those right side tires not too good in the 8 car. It actually leads to this funny quote he says that airs on live television.
Well, it just happened, but some bitch blew the tire or something, broke it down, something.
Caution is out.
Brakes, so.
He had no brakes. See right there? Very loose. He knows the tire's flat. Trying to get down pit road. Can't get it in time. It doesn't have the brakes to do it. He flies through the grass. And my oh my, you can see from his onboard here how loose it gets as it blows right there. Look how loose he is. He's still sideways, still trying to fight the car. He somehow hangs onto it. And then he takes a 150-mile-an-hour ride through the grass. Something I would never want to do. So then NBC, a little bit later in the race, says, okay, let's go to commercial. Let's go to commercial. We'll be back.
Well, we really like the styling and the personal safety system.
And that 5-star safety rating is awesome, but...
Well, how about a test drive?
Not a good test drive. Not a good test drive at all. Oh my God, they just ran out there and caused wreck. But in all seriousness, the big one happens. They cut back from commercial. They just went to commercial, and then the big one happens, and Dale Jr. is laying in the heap of metal over there. The car's not too torn up. They actually go back to the garage and fix the car. They come back on the track and finish the 500, but obviously way off in terms of laps and way off pace, as he got some pretty good damage from the crash. No real angles caught besides his onboard of him getting involved. You can see the crash happening in front. It was a pretty big crash. There's just nowhere to go. You can see bumps into the back of Joe Nemechek there, into the back of, I believe that's Casey Atwood. I can't really see because of all the fluid and whatnot. He gets into the side. I think that might be the 4. I can't tell, obviously. Then we go on a few races later to Atlanta, where about halfway through the race, he gets underneath Tony Stewart and gets by him. So Dale Jr., new leader at Atlanta. And Atlanta's actually one of his best tracks in the Cup Series, actually. You wouldn't really think that. You'd think it'd be like Martinsville or Daytona or Talladega. Atlanta actually has his best average finish in his Cup Series career. He's out front leading here, as he used to do really well back there around 2001, 2003, 2004. In this race, he leads 38 laps, but does not end up winning the race. But still a very, very great run for Dale Jr. Here at Atlanta. He had a car pretty similar to Stewart's. Sometimes he would be better, sometimes Stewart would be better. And it kind of shows later in the race. You can see right here, they're trying to get by lap cars. Junior still running his high side line that he loves to run. Even, you know, his last year of racing, he still runs that line. Here in 2002, he still runs the line. He's getting by the number 4 right there, the lap car. As Tony Stewart still keeping him close, but Junior able to keep the lead. Pull away at some point. Stewart closed back in at some points. Once again, they had pretty equal cars, pretty similar cars, and that. Junior, this is the first time he actually led in the race. Halfway through the race, he ends up leading 38, as I mentioned. I believe I said 38. He leads somewhere around 40 laps in this race. Here he comes up under the back of Jeremy Mayfield in the 19. He has to slow a little bit there, as he's a lot faster than Mayfield, whose car has been off all race. He's going to fly by on Mayfield in 3 and 4 right here in the bottom lane. As the car looks pretty good right now up front. Can he hold on and win here at Atlanta? Well, it ends up not being like that. A little bit later in the race, we go to the finish. Stewart ends up winning over Dale Jr. Jr. charging at the end, just could not get it done in time. He ends up a close second. Move on to Darlington. So he's been running up towards the front all day. They come down here, get some fresh tires on the car, and he wastes no time in the restart getting out front because his car is actually better with fresher tires as opposed to later in the run. Behind him, Sterling Marlin, his car is better on older tires. Junior's better on fresher tires. And it shows right here, look at that entry he takes to the corner. My, oh my, he's digging that car hard, trying to get away and just trying to open a gap in case maybe a caution comes out. They come back down here, get more fresh tires on the car. He could stay out front, but it's obviously not to be. Darlington, a very hard place to win at for Junior. And right here, he has a pretty good car and running top 5 all race. Very, very great run that Junior had, but later in the race, he actually fades because of the worn tires, and he fades back into the clutches of Harvick. And look at this come off 4. He's already sideways, and then to add on to it, Harvick gets right on his rear, and somehow Junior does not spin the car out. It kind of gives Harvick a little bit of emotion. They're like, hey, what are you doing, man? Well, the next race is probably the most, just the most eventful race of 2002 for Dale Jr., the Food City 500 at Bristol. He gets out front, he's leading, and he dominates the race pretty much. In this race, he leads 181 of the 500 laps. A very, very great car today, as he's leading right now with 326 laps to go. It looks like he has the race in control as of now, but they're not even halfway through the race yet. But looking pretty stout, that 8 cars. He started 23rd on the day and has gotten up to the race lead with some pit strategy, I might add. But he did get up front right there. Around this time at Bristol, the people who finished up towards the front start towards the back. Elliott Sadler, who won the race last season, started late 30s, back 30s, ended up winning the race. You see right here, Junior started 23rd, Stewart started 13th, Biobani started 32nd, is 5th, Kurt Busch started 27th, he's right now 4th. This with 174 laps to go, so we're past halfway now. He's still out front leading, controlling the race. But a little bit later in the race with around 50 laps to go, a caution comes out. They come down pit road. Junior does. A lot of the cars stay out. You can see right here, 172 to go. He's led 100 of the 328 laps. But a little bit later in the race, some cars stay out. He comes down pit road to get fresh tires, ends up hurrying him. He's 7th now, but the dirty air is just not good for his car. He can't really go anywhere. He's kind of mired back in traffic a little bit later on. He'll get up towards the front. A restart happens, and Robbie Gordon, the lap car, is in the way, and Junior sends Robbie up the track to get by, as he was obviously frustrated with Robbie. And then after the race, Junior runs into Robbie. Robbie runs into Junior on pit road, and Junior slams on the brakes to destroy Robbie's radiator, and this happens after.
Take Dick, go Dick, go Dick.
All right, we got a little problem down here, little altercation with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and a couple of other folks. Dale, what's cooking?
Damn 31 wouldn't get out of the way. Lap down, racing the leaders with 10 laps to go, but that's why that's why it takes 3 or 4 times for him to finally get into the Winston Cup Series, because he don't pay attention, he don't know what he's doing.
Don't know what he's doing. Classic quote there from Junior. As you can see here from Robbie's on board, he runs into the back of Junior, and then Junior slams on the brakes so that Robbie actually destroys the radiator. He actually admitted that they did that. As you can see right here, this is before Robbie runs into him. Junior, after the race, not happy, runs into Robbie coming into pit road, kind of runs into him, scrapes up against him, and then Robbie comes back at him on pit road, hits him, and then Junior slams on the brakes right there to make sure Robbie destroys the radiator. It spins the 8 car around. Luckily, no one was hurt there or hit. As here's another angle of the fight there, as Junior gets out of the car and tries to shove through a few drivers to get to Robbie, can't get it done. Then right here is a picture of him flipping off one of Robbie's team members who was kind of bad-mouthing him. So then at Texas, we move on. Junior, with some issues on pit road, gets put at the back of the pack, and this is what happens when you're at the back of the pack. He hits the wall hard after contact from Shauna Robinson, and it ends the 8 cars day early at Texas. As you can see right here from the replays, he's kind of trying to get by the lap car of Shauna Robinson. Robinson a little bit up the track, gets into Junior and puts the 8 car hard, backs it into the outside wall. So tough break there for Dale Earnhardt Jr., trying to get back to victory lane at Texas, and just some issues on pit road kind of puts him back in that position. You can never recover once you're back there from the onboard. So right there, the contact, and it just snaps around hard into the outside wall, as that was a pretty big impact. So then the next race at Martinsville, and he has a great battle with Ricky Craven and some others right here for the race lead. Junior has a run. He's going to the inside. Craven has the outside lane. Junior with the inside. You would think it's the preferred line, but around this time at Martinsville, the outside lane and the inside are pretty equal, actually. You could run the outside if your car was set up to do so. And Junior on the inside trying to get by him. They hit turn 1. They're still side by side, about dead even as they come off at turn number 2 now. Junior trying to use that bottom lane run to get by, but Ricky Craven, that car looks pretty good up top, and Junior still trying to get out front and lead at Martinsville, one of his best tracks in the Cup Series. So right here, he's pulling up alongside. You think maybe you can get right here, but Ricky Craven powers off the top, keeps it ahead. Junior at the stripe, about 200 laps to go, a little bit over that. Junior a little bit loose off the corner, doesn't have to drive off, and Craven pulls him down the backstretch, but Junior keeping a fender under that, just a little bit of a nose there. Craven can't come down quite yet, not clear. Junior drives hard up the track, trying to push Craven up the track, trying to drive it hard off the corner. Can't get anything done there, still side by side with Craven, and right here through 1 and 2, Craven actually clears them coming off turn number 2, and Craven keeps the race lead, but what a great battle that was at Martinsville. Some great short track racing right there. So then later in the race, under a restart, Junior gets out front. He pulls away. He gaps the field with about 150 laps to go. He's out front trying to win his first Martinsville race. His past race at Martinsville has not gone good, as we mentioned in the 2001. Ran into everything but the pace car, it seemed like, in that race. And he's right now leading. In this race, he leads 41 of the 500 laps to end up finishing 5th after starting 3rd. So not too bad there for Junior. Once again, racking up those top 5s, top 10s. That's what you need to try and be champion in the Cup Series. Around this time, consistency was everything. Finishing top 5, top 10, week in, week out, would actually end up winning you a championship, a la Matt Kenseth 2003. We'll get to that a little bit later on in this series. So Junior out front leading, trying to just pull away from Terry Labonte and hoping that maybe a caution doesn't come out. He can kind of pull away and smooth sailing now to the finish for him, but not all as well. He ends up finishing 5th. Well then, Talladega comes up, and DEI is strong at these plate tracks in the early 2000s. He and Michael Waltrip, his teammate, running 1-2 pretty much the whole day at Talladega. Junior ends up leading 133 of the 188 laps run. Dominating performance at Talladega. They're single file. No one can get around those 2 DEI cars. They are so strong. Jarrett trying to get around Kurt Busch there. Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson trying to make something happen. But as they go through 3 and 4, someone's going to need to give a push to Michael to get by Junior. He's dominated the whole race. Can anyone steal it from him as they come off turn number 4? They come off of 4. Still trying to get a run. Michael tries to back up to Kurt here to try and get a run. Junior pulls down. Kurt pulls down. Michael pulls down in front of Kurt. And Michael does have a little bit of a run, but it's too late. They come down low. Waltrip gets a run, gets beside Junior, but not enough. Junior wins the Aaron's 499 at Talladega, his 2nd straight Talladega victory. And my oh my, what a dominating performance it was at Talladega. As you can see right here after the race, he actually takes some donuts into the infield It's, instead of doing a burnout, he just does some donuts in the dirt and gets a little dirt show going there. And across the logos in the grass and such, Junior with a pretty good Talladega race. And I don't think he wanted to hurt the motor, as that was a motor they took just about every restrictor plate track, so they probably didn't want to hurt the motor, just decided to do some donuts into the grass and make sure that he never hurt it. So the crowd loves it. He's having a little bit of a ball there. You see, he's still in the dirt, He finally gets out of the dirt and is going to pull into victory lane. And goes from glory and winning to wreck and despair for Dale Jr. in the next race at Auto Club. A hard hit into the outside wall with about 20 laps to go. They were never really running great. They were running mid-20s, back 20s. Right there, the damage to the 8 so severe. And right here you can see from the replay, Kevin Harvick's trying to get down pit road and just gets into Junior right there as Junior's trying to get by underneath, and it sends Junior hard driver's side into the wall. That is a hard hit for Dale Jr. And my Darrell Waltrip at the time was shocked and just afraid that Junior was injured in some sort. And we'll actually find out later that he was injured, but we'll leave that for a little bit later on. But you can see the hard hit there, the car in a heap of just sheet metal and whatnot. You can see from another angle, a little bit more sped up. Just the hit that he takes hard into the outside wall, just nowhere he could go, just an innocent bystander. Harvick just trying to get down pit road, maybe with a flat tire, and misjudged it, didn't know the 8 was coming, and pulled down, got right into him, and sends them both hard into the outside wall. You can see here from this angle, this is a pretty good angle of the crash. You see Harvick trying to get down, Junior hits him hard, a hard crash right there. And then Junior getting out of the car, obviously in pain. Right there, you think, oh, he's just shooken up, took the breath out of him. He's climbing out, he's all good. And then climbing out, he's in some pain. You can tell right there he's in some pain. Trying to get out, hunches over, all but running to the ambulance trying to get in. Once again, hunches over, so obviously in a lot of pain from that crash. It was a very hard crash, as the car was severely damaged. He gets into the ambulance. They take him, I believe they took him to the hospital, if I'm not mistaken. He had some pretty big pain there. You see the car, how demolished it is from the onboard. Watch the dash and how it kind of crunches up. Look at this, ready? See how the dash kind of cracks too. Just shows how hard of a hit it was. And those cars obviously were not as safe as the ones we have now. So we move on to Richmond, the next race after that one, and another crash. He started second. They fell off. They never really made the adjustments they needed to, and just lagging all day, and puts it into the outside wall, and the damage relegates him to a mid-30s place finish. Not what he was looking for at Richmond. It's right there into the wall right there, and it kind of ruins the whole car. Then we move on to the Winston, where he's trying to use what he used in 2000 to win. They come down pit road at the end, they get some fresh tires, and they've been mowing through the field, and that car is speeding forward. With 2 laps to go, he's on the back bumper of Newman. You think, man, he has this. He just has to go around the outside, fly around the outside Newman, and he'll have it. He goes, falls in Newman's tire tracks right here. Right on him. He could pick up the speed so well onto the 12 car, down the backstretch, looking high, looking low, trying to just get a run onto him. As they go through 3 and 4, he's going to go to the outside Newman right here. But can he complete the pass to try and get a second All-Star win in 3 years? He's looking to the outside, but he's going to wait till the last lap to try and make this move. Right here, he gets a run on him, can't get it done. White flag is in the air. He's all over Ryan Newman. Can he find a way around him? As they go through 1 and 2 right here, this is a move that he tried to make but couldn't get it done. He gets to the back bumper, Newman hits him. He said later that he tried to actually spin him out, but he let off because he thought Newman was going to spin. Newman somehow miraculously saves the car and keeps it going straight. And Junior has one final ditch effort. He drives it hard through 3 and 4, trying to get there. Gets a little tight up the track and can't get it done. But what great racing that was. Ryan Newman holds off Dale Jr. to win the Winston, the All-Star race. And Junior ends up second. Then the 600, he's actually running pretty well inside the top 10 with about 30 laps to go, and the engine expires. So 600 miles on these engines, and it's just taking a toll on this DEI engine as Junior, with an engine failure, retires from the race early. See right there, they pick up the hood on pit road, some issues, and they're never it was a terminal there, and they never were able to fix the car. So then at Daytona, we move to midsummer stretch. They're all stacked up behind Dale Jr. and Michael Waltrip. Waltrip is leading this event. He's dominated the whole race. Junior's been running second pretty much the whole race. He led like maybe a lap or two. Never able a car that was leading. Waltrip was the one always out front. See right there, they're making contact in the middle of the pack. As meanwhile, up front, Junior is going for the race lead. Michael Waltrip with 4 laps to go, trying to get it done. but has no help up top. Everyone saves with Michael down low, and Junior ends up fading backwards. The yellow will come out for a crash on the backstretch actually on this lap. So the caution comes out. They're racing back to the caution. Junior trying to get 5th, but gets 6th instead. And after the race, a lot of people not too happy with how it ended up, and they're throwing stuff onto the track. I don't know why you would do that. Just not really a race fan there. As some would say, you're a race idiot. So it's all the debris on the track. I don't know why they would do that.
Well, Dale Earnhardt Jr. climbs from his race car, and Junior, you tried to lay some whoop up on him and go for the win with 4 to go.
Yeah, I think I should have followed him, but all the guys in the pits, you know, they put a lot of effort behind this car, and they want to celebrate a victory because they know the car's capable of doing it. But I was kind of by the same position Michael was in Talladega, so I should have just stayed behind him. We could have finished 2nd. But I don't know. Wrong decision, right decision. I don't know. I guess I'll never know. So it was a good run for Budweiser. All-star baseball, all-star car. Done real good tonight, and run 2nd for a long time. Didn't really lead any laps, but we had a real strong race car. I told Michael in the driver's meeting that I'd stay dedicated to him, and that's what I wanted to do. But
there was a lot of talk between yourself and Tony Jr. about what to do in that situation.
Yeah, he told me if I didn't try to win the race, I wasn't a race car driver, so had to try to win the race.
Move on to Chicago after Daytona. Junior obviously visibly upset with Tony Eury Jr. and what he had him do. And on the restart, Junior's leading. Lap cars take it 3 wide underneath him, but Junior keeps the race lead there on the restart. In this race, he led 81 laps, so once again, a really good car, just cannot finish out these races. He ends up 10th, so not really the day he was looking for here. They're about halfway through the race, a little bit more than that. He's leading. You would think, man, he has a good shot, but he ends up falling to 10th. So obviously something was wrong with that car. They lost the handling there towards the end of the race and could never really recover and ends up inside the top 10. So another decent result, but man, oh man, with how many laps he's led this season, you would think he would have had like 5 or 6 wins. He only had 2, and both at Talladega. So man, that's shocking that he didn't win more. He had so many good cars here. He's going by the lap car Kyle Perry here, trying to put him a lap down once again to his inside. Newman, 2nd place, right on Junior's tail, trying to get by. We went to New Hampshire, where Junior led 43 laps earlier in the race, inside the top 10 here, trying to get another position from Todd Bodine. Gets into the back rim right there, pushes him up the track, and Junior loose underneath him as they make contact, and he spins around front of the field. Look at this. This so much reminds me of Harvick's spin here this season, and somehow gets it down low, tried to save it, but gets into the inside wall hard and demolishes the rear end of that car. He's right here from another angle, gets in the back of Todd Bodine right there, sends him up the track. Junior underneath him makes some more contact, and it gets loose and spins around. You almost think he has it saved right here. It looks like he does right there. Nope. And spins it back down low. Luckily not in front of the field, but luckily he spins it down low and doesn't stop in the middle of the track. Once again, he's right there. The contact snaps the car left. Around goes the 8 in front. Look at the smoke show he creates. The car's wondering where to go. High, low, and luckily he just spins off the racetrack, but the damage to the rear end is severe and ends up costing him a top 10 spot. Once again, another great race car, and it went bad, leading laps early and trying to recover there and get some spots at the end with about 15 laps to go, and just spins around, being very, very aggressive. Well, after this race, you think, man, oh man, how much worse can it get? Well, wrecking on lap 1 is pretty good, especially at Pocono. Well, here it is. He and his teammate Steve Park go down towards the infield wall, and the camera just catches hits, and my gosh, Steve Park just goes for a wild ride. Junior also as well, but Park with a horrible crash. And you can kind of see right there from that angle, Junior starting to get his stuff undone as he wants to get out, and once he gets out, he starts running to Steve Park's aid, seeing if his teammate's okay. That's some teamwork right there. Running across the infield grass like, my gosh, I just saw him flip. Is he okay? Because Steve Park obviously has injuries over his career, and Junior wants to make sure he's okay. And Steve Park does end up okay. Everyone from that crash okay. As you can see from the replays how hard of a hit it was for these drivers. Park right up onto Rusty Walsh right there. Walsh kind of chops him up. Park going low, trying to avoid it, and starts to spin out, and Junior's down low, can't let off in time, and it just digs under the one car and sends him up in the air and sends him in the guardrail and flips him over. As that's not what you want to do. 2 cars torn up on lap 1 for DEI. Not what they were wanting to have happen there. You can see from another angle that Wallace is kind of low, and he comes up and parks up there, and Spire probably didn't really communicate there at that point. Park trying to get down low, spins down low and right in front of Junior's path, and that wet grass. You can't slow down the wet grass, and it flips the one car over. And Junior, of course, gets some pretty heavy damage as well, as both cars pretty well torn up. Park actually ends up DNFing from the race, and somehow the 8 car gets back out on track, and only loses about 30 laps somehow, even with the damage they had. See right here, once again from another angle, Wallace up in front of the one starts to spin down towards the inside wall, trying to avoid, and Junior just collects him as well. And right here, once it starts so bumpy down low, and Junior just digs underneath the one, and it pushed him into the guardrail, and it flips him over. Tough break there for the DEI cars early on the Pennsylvania 500, as they wreck on lap number 1. My oh my, look at that hit that Park takes and the flips that he takes. Well, then later in the race, we're under a red flag for rain, and the crowd's cheering. Why are they cheering? What the heck?
Wow. Isn't that great? Berlin City. And all the cheers that you hear is not for the rain. It's for Dale Earnhardt Jr. driving the Bud car back on pit road, getting ready to go back in the action once the red flag is lifted.
Well, look at the damage they had to the car. Like, it was all torn up, and somehow they got repaired and got back out on track and didn't lose too much time. I believe they only lost about 27 laps, and it was a pretty good repair job, I must say. It looked pretty good out there, pretty good. So then we move on to Watkins Glen, where he spins it into the sand trap with 18 laps to go. He'll hop in the rear end, and the caution comes out. He's stuck in the sand trap. You see right here from some replays. Just loses the car under braking with the wheel hop, hits the brakes hard, and sends the car into the sand trap, and he kind of just gets caught there and can't get out, and that's why the caution was actually caused. If he got going again, the caution probably wouldn't have been called, but if he was about maybe 2, 3, 4 feet further back, he would have been all right, but just gets caught in the sand right there. You can see how close he is to the grass. If the rear wheels are on the grass, he would have been able to get out of it. One more look from the back. See the smoke coming out of the rear end right here as he's trying to get the brakes on the wheel hop happening, and spins the car around, loops the car. So then we move on to Michigan after this one, where he won the pole in 2000, and guess what? He wins it again. He wins the pole at Michigan once again, as the Budweiser Pole Award goes once again to Dale Earnhardt Jr., as the Bud car gets the Bud Pole Award. How ironic is that? Well, then Bristol, Bristol was just mean to Dale Earnhardt Jr. this season. My gosh. He starts second. He ends up getting the jump on Jeff Gordon at the start and ends up leading, I believe it's the first 100-some laps. He leads like 100, 203 the first laps. He ends up leading throughout the whole race. He leads 140 laps throughout the whole race. So once again, another great car. Doesn't end up in victory lane, though. He ends up third after watching the Gordon-Rusty Wallace battle. Then later in the race, he makes some contact with Ward Burton, and Burton throws his stuff to Junior, obviously visibly upset. See from the onboard that Junior got run underneath Ward Burton there, and Ward kind of comes down, but Junior wasn't really there enough to make the pass and ends up spinning the 22 around hard to the outside wall. What a nice throw, too. I gotta say, what a good throw that was to Junior. And right here, you can see from the onboard, it looks like Junior's going to catch it, but pulls his hand back. And the NBC guys obviously having fun. As always, here's what they have to say.
Yeah. Man, oh man.
Oh, here we go. We got the folks down in the truck keeping track of things tonight.
All right. Heel patch thrown to
ambulance abuse. Elliott Sadler.
I got some really good words for him, but I can't say it on TV, but I got to just control myself right at the moment.
You sent a nice message, though, with the throw.
I wish I had something like a shot through the window.
Next few years were consistent without much happening. At Dover, he starts third, and it takes him no time to get to the race. He years battling with Rusty Wallace. As Alan Beswick says, beer battle. Just like that, he actually really happy. As Junior moves around Rusty Wallace, only 3 laps in the race after starting third, and Junior gets to the race lead at Dover, and he ends up leading in this race. 116, the laps ends up falling to 24th with some issues on the handling of the car and whatnot, falling and can never recover. So starting out good for Junior, but ends up going bad as the handling kind of goes away, and kind of feels like he's down on horsepower, he says, kind of later in the race, and maybe some engine issues as well on that 8 car. So then we move on to Kansas, where the controversy comes out. Junior reveals a secret that he's kept for a while, as they report it on NBC pre-race.
Saturday morning, NASCAR President Mike Helton told us NASCAR is changing its policy regarding drivers with possible concussions. NASCAR will now use doctors at the racetrack and its own panel of doctors to assess the health of drivers, regardless of whether or not that driver had to be hospitalized after a hard crash. That policy is in effect this weekend. This change comes on the heels of a story in USA Today and an Associated Press story in which Dale Earnhardt Jr. said he drove for several races with a severe concussion after this crash at California on April 28th. Earnhardt was not hospitalized after the crash, and under NASCAR's old policy was eligible to race the following week. Now Earnhardt says for several weeks his reactions were slowed, that he had trouble telling the team what the car was doing. Friday here at Kansas, Dale told Marty Snyder that he had seen, quote, a few doctors, unquote, but a source at Dale Earnhardt Incorporated told me here at the track this week Earnhardt Jr. never had a CAT scan. That's normally a standard exam when a head injury or a concussion is suspected.
So you can see from this article, he says he wasn't fully recovered until the July Daytona race, in which he had fallen down to 16th in points. He also goes on to say that he had sought help from Dale Jarrett. They had kept it kind of secret there. Jarrett was like, you shouldn't be in the race car. Junior said, I don't want to be that kind of guy. And then this is why I pointed out these races. Look at the results after Fontana down to Daytona. In between those, look at all the bad results they had. Just shows they did have that concussion. So that's why I mentioned those races. He had to point those out. So then at Kansas, the same race where he announced he had his concussion, he got the pole and ends up leading about 10 laps, ending up 6th. So at Talladega, once again, the white flag waves in their single file behind Dale Jr. 1 lap to go in the EA Sports 500, a caution-free race. He leads 56 laps to his victory. A caution-free race, and I believe it's the last one in NASCAR history they're going to have, since the stages can't really have caution-free races anymore. So this could possibly be the last caution-free race in NASCAR history, and it's at Talladega of all places. So many cars actually lost motors during the race. Jamie Johnson, the points leader, the 5, the 24, so many cars just lost motors during the whole event. So as they go through 3 and 4, Tony Stewart trying to get something done, but you can't get it done when you're single file, and there's no real runs in these types of cars. Junior rounds him off turn number 4, and he'll win 3 in a row at Talladega and sweep the Talladega races. How about that? A sweep. So get that broom out. Dale Jr. comes down through the tri-oval to win the EA Sports 500 at Talladega. And that's a race that he's won so many times, the EA Sports 500. So you see right there, he wins, and only 7 cars in that pack there at the end that were battling for the race win. So many cars just fell off pace, lost the draft, and blew engines and whatnot because of how green flag it was. So here's some interesting stats from the race.
2 victories this season for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Talladega and Talladega. And a new millionaire has joined the ranks of the American wealthy. Debbie Polson of Manchester, Connecticut has won the $1 million as the fan.
So around this time, Winston Noble was happening, and like they picked the certain races, the Noble 5, where if a driver that was eligible won the race, $1 million would go to that driver and the fan. So as you can see right there, they're throwing the money because Dale Jr. was one of the eligible drivers since where he finished at Kansas, and he ends up winning this race, and he gets the $1 million for he and his fan. So the fan, $1 million. They're throwing the money off the back of the truck, the fake money. It's not real money, but you can see it's Junior's getting showered in money right there. It's getting stuck to his grill and whatnot. Look at all that money flying. See right there. Look at that money. It's flying all over the place. They're throwing a lot of money out there. That's $1 million right there. 1 million fake dollars if you want to go out there on the track and collect. You can see how much gets stuck to the grill of the car and whatnot, and how much gets stuck to the windshield and stuff like that. Very, very happy there. Sweeps Talladega. So we move on to Phoenix, one of the last races of the season. And just 6 laps in the race, started third once again. And as they go into lap 7, he gets the lead from Ryan Newman in the 12. So Dale Jr. gets out front at Phoenix. He's always been really good at Phoenix, too. That's another great racetrack for him over his career. In this race, he ends up leading 105 laps. Another very, very great result. He ends up finishing 5th once again. So it seems like once he dominates and gets out front and leads a lot of laps, he ends up falling to finishing around 4th to 6th. It seems like somewhere around there he's finished whenever he leads many laps in races in 2002. So he gets out front leads, but Newman and Gore not really going away, but later on he'll definitely pull away, lead, and falls back just a little bit, and ends up finishing top 5 still. Puts him up to 11th in the point standings, trying to get up into the top 10 at Homestead. It's looking pretty good for him as he, just 11 laps into the race, he's pulling alongside Kurt Busch in the 97 for the race lead, and Junior gets out front after starting second and leading 46 laps. But just like classic Homestead, for some reason at Homestead, the 8 team could never dial it in. They would always fall back. He ends up finishing in the 20s, but keeps his 11th spot in points, and that's where he ends up in points for 2002, 11th. Tony Stewart ends up winning the championship. So that's it for number 11. We're down to the top 10 seasons for Dale Jr.'s career. I'll see you guys for number 10 for Dale Jr.'s career.